Starting this podcast was an unexpected step of obedience of something that God has called me to do. Through this podcast, I will be interviewing ordinary people who have seen and experienced God move in extraordinary ways throughout their lives. I pray that this will build your faith and encourage you to testify of God's goodness in your everyday lives. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Testify of God's Goodness podcast. I have here with me Kayla and Ethan, and so they are recently engaged. So that's a really exciting time in life that they're in, and they're going to talk a little bit about that. And I just really appreciate you guys being willing to do this with all that's going on right now. So just to start off, tell us a little bit about yourselves. So your work or callings in life, and then how do we know each other? So I've just met Ethan, but Kayla and I have known each other for quite a while now.
I'm a nurse. I work part-time in emergency room over in Kaiser, which that's where I started my career, was the emergency room, and then I'm full-time over at Potomac Center. So I work with children with intellectual disabilities, and they're phenomenal.
Yes, I worked there for a while as well.
Oh, yeah? That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's actually how I knew God was calling me into working, or like one of the ways into working with kids with special needs and like being a special education teacher.
Okay.
Because I just needed a summer job after we got married before I started teaching, like between graduating and teaching. And my sister-in-law was the nurse there at the time. And so she was like, they're hiring, they always need somebody. And I fell in love with working with those kids. Like it's awesome. So I got offered a couple different jobs working in special ed, so I took one at Augusta. But
the kids are phenomenal.
Yeah.
So we're there, and then God has been able to use my nursing abilities, which He's done even before I was officially a nurse and just in nursing school, to use internationally, and that's where I feel most called to use my gift. Like it's phenomenal to use it here and to keep my skills up, but I feel like He uses me the most with those skills over internationally.
Yeah.
I'm Ethan, firefighter, paramedic, full-time, so I do that, and then I work part-time for Washington County as a fire apparatus operator, so
Okay.
do that. That's about all I do. Work a lot, but I do stuff on our missions with doing paramedic, the skills and everything with the clinic and that kind of stuff as well. So
That's awesome. We have a lot of firefighters in our family. So my dad worked for the Baltimore County Fire Department, and my brother and one of my cousins, they work for the Prince George's County Fire Department, and they do paramedic and the firefighter side of things. So yeah, it's a big calling for sure, but they love it. And like my brother loves it too, because you guys have a little bit of flexibility. I don't know what your schedule is, but like my dad's was usually like 4 on, 4 off, like 4 days on, 4 days off. And then my brother's was like, he's 24 hours on and then he has 3 days off. So
we're 24 on, 48 off at Cumberland, and then we have a Kelly day and stuff, and then I work the part-time. I usually work nights at Wasco. So
that's so awesome. Okay, so tell us about your testimony starting off. So when you saw your need for Christ as your Savior, when you accepted Christ, and then the transformation that came from that.
So, you want me to start? Okay. We went to high school together. You know how rough high school is in general.
Yeah.
High school's a hard time, and then luckily, I had been in my church since I was 5 years old, and my pastor and his wife are wonderful humans, which I know you had them on the podcast.
Yes, it's Chris and Tony, so you guys should go back and listen to that episode if you haven't.
They're phenomenal, and they had been which they're still pretty involved in Haiti and everything. So it was the first mission trip, and I took an interest in it, and I talked to them and talked to my parents, and they agreed. And that was kind of a huge, big eye-opening for me. That was the first, true calling that I felt from God to do. And then it just kind of started from there when I got back and I got baptized, and just the feeling inside of you to fully accept God, it's just so overwhelming. And it's don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect. Like, I falter every single day.
That's all of us. That's why we need.
Exactly.
That's why we need a perfect God.
But it's that constant feeling of, that you're loved, and that even though I falter, and even though I'm trying, and I know that I'm going to end up faltering again the next day, he's still there with me. And it's a phenomenal feeling to have.
Yeah, I agree.
What about you?
I can't really improve on that too much. I've kind of always, I started going to church when I was real little. I don't even know how young I was. Young enough that I was separate from our group. Like little kids.
Yeah.
And
So your grandparents were huge?
Yes. Yeah, they're still real big in it. They do all, like, the activities. He drives, like, the van for...
That's cool.
Central Assembly in I think it's Cumberland,
Okay.
technically. But he does, like, the van, drives them, or the bus, and does all their stuff, take kids to camps and stuff, and all that stuff that they do and everything. So, I mean, it's just kind of always been a part of my life. And
That's awesome. Yeah. And, like, that's an encouragement for people that are older. That's what I love about our church, because it's multi-generational. It really is. We've got, like, a baby boom going on in our church, and then we've got, like, the elders in our church, like, they serve so well. Like, this, it was, I guess, yesterday, one of the older ladies found out, because we just had to put Dakota's dad on hospice. And so we're walking through that, and he had Dakota later in life, so he's 82 now, but it's just, his body's shutting down. And, like, one of the older ladies that's going to start discipling me, she's probably in her 80s too, but she texted her little group, and it must have been as soon as she sent it out, I had like 5 to 10 of them back to back just text me like, we are praying for you, let us know how we can serve you through this. And, like, the Bible doesn't talk about retirement or once you get to a certain age, like, you can just quit serving. And so it's so encouraging to see these men and women who are older, who could say, I've done my part. Like, they are just so hands-on and want to serve so well. So I love that, and I'm very encouraged by it. So what part of your all story do you feel led to share today?
Probably mostly our work in Uganda, right? Because that's basically what's led us, which I started, and then we met, and then you started going with me 2 years ago. Yeah, because I think this will be your 3rd time going over.
I think so.
Yeah. So probably mainly our work. Like, it's been a huge part of our relationship in life once he started going, which God love him. He's been a huge help to me in the Greater Heights missions and everything, which he's been my sounding board, from me taking over presidency to the stress with it, to just trying to make the best decisions that I can, that still, is realistic but still serves God. And it's a lot. And then the planning process to the mission, like, he's fantastic to have just there to bounce ideas off of. And, like, April will be going over, and we're going to do more of a construction, so that's his area. So we need to get the information and send it to him, and then he has ideas, and then what we can do. And then over there you have big ideas too, between trying to filter out the water and the different ideas for that, and different ways of building and within the clinics and stuff. It's been a fun ride, honestly.
That's awesome. And that's such a blessing too, because that's how, with my husband, like, when I feel called to do something, I'm like full bore. I'm like, let's do it right now. Like, and sometimes God will lay, callings on your life that it's not right now. Like, it is a vision for something that he is calling you to, like, down the line, right? And so Dakota's really good at, like, okay, babe, let's think about things. Let's pray about things. Is this right now, or is this for later? Because I would be like, I'm so productivity driven, and I would just want to be full in for everything.
And try and come up with
the
best plan.
Because we're going to be able to serve better, and be just a better person for everybody around us when we're not, like, growing weak and weary because we've taken on too much, you know. So that is a blessing to have somebody to partner with you in that way.
And working with these girls, because I mean, obviously, it's extremely emotional. Like to see what these girls go through and to hear it, and then to know that there's only so much you can do. Like every single year we go, there's always people that there's either a kid that has syphilis, or there's a kid that needs a life-saving surgery, or a man that needs a hernia surgery or something. There's always something, and God has always provided and has been phenomenal at giving us what we need to be able to take care of them.
Yeah.
But just the emotional toll, and it's wonderful to have a partner that helps take on that.
Yeah.
So then it's you, your partner, and God.
Yes.
It's much easier to be three than just one.
For sure. Yeah. Right. And there's a verse about that. It says how like a cord of three strands is not easily broken, and how we can pick each other up. Like, and that doesn't just have to be like marriage either. That's not, I mean, that was like a verse that we used when we did our unity thing. Like we braided this thing at our wedding. But also if you're single out there and don't have a spouse to bounce things off of, like still being a part of a church community and encourage each other in that way. Because like I can say the women's group that I'm a part of, and even the teen group that I lead, like they encourage me so much. Like they're there for me with everything going on right now, because it all like hit all at once. And they're like, do you feel like you need to cancel? Because I lead it and I have it hosted at my house, and like dinner and everything like that. And I was like, no, honestly, it's encouraging for me to be around them. And I said, like with the teen girls this week, like we just brought them home, I guess on Wednesday, I think. And Wednesday was the day that I like lead the teen girls at my house. And God just like went before us, and I have not laughed that hard, I swear, in like a year. Like we had such a great time, and like just diving into the word. So it is an encouragement to have that community. And if you don't have it, get linked into a local church. There's no perfect church, so don't even try. Like the first time we attended here, Pastor Dale was like, welcome to our imperfect church with a bunch of imperfect people. And I was like, these are my people. This is where we're going to fit in. So just being real in that way. And yes, there's going to be flaws with every church, right? But just saying like, okay, I'm committed to this church. Like I want to not only be a part of it, but I want to serve in it. And through that, you do form these bonds with people around you that can be like-minded and encourage you and help hold you accountable. And yeah, it's a true blessing for sure. And I always tell the girls, because there's some that like don't go to our church, I'm like, this is not your church. Like I want you guys to be a part of a church. Like this is a small group, but just having that, like actually being in a church, a local church community, and not just have like online stuff, you know. Okay, what encouragement or advice would you give to someone who God's given a big vision to, and they feel ill-equipped and not sure how to be obedient to the calling that God has placed on their lives?
First of all, don't feel guilty for that feeling.
Yeah.
Because
that's good.
Everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Like 5 years ago, when it was supposed to be me and my John Womack, who was the president before me, we were supposed to go over, and he got COVID, and I was going to go alone.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my very first time ever going alone.
Mm.
And it's a scary feeling.
Yeah.
It really is, because and just all of the negative feelings start to come up of why does God think that I can do this? Why does God why me? Because I'm nobody, I'm nothing.
Yep.
It's a very normal feeling to have, but once you get past that and you trust in God, He's always going to lead you.
For sure, yeah.
So the best advice is honestly to just breathe,
Mm-hmm.
accept those negative feelings, but then you pray them away.
That's such good advice. And just spending time in the Word and seeing, like, God used the broken and the surrender to do his greatest work. He really did. Like, look at David, how many times he screwed up. And, like, God said he was a man after his own heart. Like, and I felt the same things. Like, I was just reflecting on, like, just figuring out what God was wanting me to do with a couple different things right now. And I want to know that I know that I know. Like, I want to be obedient, but I have to be sure, like, this is what God's calling me to or away from. And I, like, just had a memory of, I was in college and I was at this conference. It was a Christian conference, and we were praying the prayer, which I've shared on here before, like, God, I'll go where you want me to go. I'll do what you want me to do. Like, I'm going to live surrendered to you. And it was almost immediately, I was like almost shaking. I felt God lay in my heart, like, I'm calling you to do high school ministry. And I was like, I went to school for elementary education. Like, I don't want to teach high schoolers. That's too close to my age. We'll only have 4-year difference. Like, I can't do that, God. Just choose another calling. And I thought that's what it was going to look like. I thought I was going to be teaching high school right out, because it made sense that that's what I was going to school for. But it's at my graduation party, which I shared on the episode with Caitlin. Like, I was talking to Pastor Dale, and I shared with him how discipleship changed my life. And then he asked me about discipling his high school daughters. Like, one was in 8th grade at that point, but like, and I've been doing that for the past 6 years. I've been discipling high school. It was middle and high school. Now it's high school and college girls. And so, like, that was very much a calling. And so just going back to, okay, how does this fit into that, like, calling that God's put on my life? I feel ill-equipped. I'm like, they don't want to listen to me. Like, I'm a mom and a wife. Like, it's just 2 different stages in life, but I have seen the growth of that, and, like, I am very real. Like, I tell them all the time, like, I'm shocked you guys keep coming back, because we're going through Romans, and it's, like, got some hard things and that they have to face and deal with, but they're like, no, we want you to be real, because everything out there anymore is fake. Like, on social media and all these things, and they're craving realness. They're craving, like, something bigger than themselves, which is Christ. So it's, when you have a calling in your life, just trust, like, it's just one step of obedience at a time. Don't get in your head about the what ifs, because every single time I've done that, like, none of the what ifs turn out how I have planned in my head. Whether it's conversations I have to have or plans that I have, like, none of it turns out how I think. So just trust and obey, truly.
If you, and it's honestly crazy, because if you fully trust him and you fully open your heart to the calling, there's nothing too big for God, and he'll take it and he will run with it, and he supplies it, and you're basically just hanging on the boat.
Yeah.
He's driving it. It's his boat. It is his plan. You are just there to serve him through it.
Yeah.
And it'll get done in his time, and it's a fun ride, honestly.
It is. It really is. I could have never predicted what I'm doing. Like, when people are like, are you going to go back to teaching when your kids are in school? And I'm like, that's my open-handed plan. But I'm like, God, whatever you want to put in, put in. Whatever you want to take out, take out. Like, and that's easier said than done. Sometimes I'm like,
it is,
are you sure this is what you want to take out? Like, so that's
control freak sometimes.
yeah. I'm like, God, you're gonna have to give me a couple things of clarity before I, like, take that step. But yeah, I mean, the Bible says he gives us life more abundant, right? And that sums up, like, all the things. It doesn't mean everything's easy. I don't want to have people, like, leave both experience. I mean, we're both going through hard things right now with our families. Yeah. Like, I don't know, do you guys want to share a little bit about what just happened?
Yeah,
you don't have to.
I don't mind.
Okay.
With my parents, Jake and Amy, which are very well known in this community,
mm-hmm.
and the community has been so amazing. Which they just had their house burned down, and which obviously, which it's still very devastating, and in that moment was super devastating. But God has had and made so many blessings from that horrible darkness already.
Wow.
Like, it was actually a couple of his friends who were fighting the fire, so we got to talk to them
mm-hmm.
About it, and they saved some of the sentimental things, because it was my Nana's house.
Wow.
So the whole house was sentimental itself.
Yeah.
But they were able to save some of the sentimental things. And then my parents, they had an abundant amount of clothes by the end of the night from the community. And actually the insurance inspector, I get a little weepy.
Yeah, that's understandable.
The insurance inspector came out and they did the whole insurance part of everything for 10 minutes, but then they got to talking, and it turns out that he's a part of this church where his pastor and his wife are actually in Africa right now.
Wow.
Yeah. And they got to talking about it, and they gave him my contact, and he has given his contact to my preacher because they're wanting to expand and to hook up and make connections.
Oh my goodness.
And it's just, he's been amazing, absolutely amazing through it all.
And only God could orchestrate something like that. Never in a million years
No.
could our finite plans plan up something so miraculous like that.
He will always be the light of the darkness in our times. He will always create blessings out of a horrible event.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
agree.
shown many, many times in our lives.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. I love that. So, tell us a little bit about the story of how you guys met, and just a little bit about your relationship.
You want to talk with them? Go ahead.
Well, I work for Cumberland as a
Yeah.
firefighter. It's pretty cliche. She worked in Cumberland as a nurse, so we ended up meeting in the hospital and stuff, just working and
Okay.
everything, and then end up talking and just progressing, and
Oh,
now we're here.
that's so sweet. I love that.
We're a cliche.
Yeah, I love hearing stories like that of how people meet. Like Dakota and I met in 9th grade in science class, and we were best friends all through high school. And I told him, I was like, I'll never date you in a million years, because we were so close, and because he was so work driven. Like any relationships that he had, he was like, didn't really care. Like he wouldn't put any effort until we got together, and that changed. I mean, he's always been a hard worker, but he prioritized like the relationship at that point. But I was like, I could never date you, and now I'm married to him. So
Ethan was oblivious to my likings of him. It was awful. My favorite story to tell was I was coming out of a patient's room, which was a patient that he brought me.
mm-hmm.
And he was with his partner at the time, and they're hanging out at the nurse's station, just talking, setting up, doing their reports before they leave.
Yeah.
And I come out, and I try to wave to him, because I'm an awkward person who has a crush.
Yeah.
And so I wave, and his partner ends up going. I'm like,
Not
oh,
you.
Okay.
Wait, so who finally, did you finally tell him, hey, I like you? Or how did that?
Yeah, I spent my my lunch break talking to him instead of on my lunch, and I finally was just like, hey, do you want my number?
Good for you.
So then he started messaging me, and then we have messaged every single day and talked every single day since that day.
Wow. So you can drop, that's an encouragement, you can drop hints and everything, but if they're not picking them up, just be like, if you want to pursue this, here is my number to do that. There's only so much time in lunch or dropping off patients that you can catch up. So